Hello to all my fellow fans out there. You know the drill by now. If you haven't already, now is the time to pause this video and read through the channel's disclaimer in full before viewing any of my work. Thank you kindly. Welcome to a meeting of Monstrous Minds with your host this evening, Jet Hipwell. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to all my fellow dark horror loving friends, fans, followers and family of freaks out there. I love you all. Happy Fortnightly Freaky Friday, guys and girls. It's midnight here in the UK and this is the third episode of a meeting of Monstrous Minds. I'm your host for this evening, Jet Hipwell, and tonight for your viewing pleasure on this ultimately Freaky Friday night, I shall be interviewing a dark themed musician, author and creator of all things weird and wonderful, Ed Burley. Ed, warm welcome to the show. It's great to have you here, and tonight we're going to be taking a look at and talking about your dark creations, both within the music world and the literary world. So, ladies and gents, there are 15 questions to put to Ed here tonight, so let us begin with the spooky shenanigans. So, we have here with us today the fantastic Ed Burley. Welcome to the show, Ed. Okay, so let's start off with the basics, shall we? Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Or should I say, when and where did your creative journey begin? How did you get the idea for the book Blame and the up-and-coming band playing Fallen Child?
Well, let's start with I'm from Weston-super-Mare, which is loved by some and revered, hated by others. It's got such a mixed bag. But anyway, my family are here. I mean, we've had my generation, my parents' generation, no, my kids' generation, my parents' generation, my grandparents' generation. So there's been about 3 generations of us within the same town for the last, well, I'm 40.
So you're born and bred there. Yeah.
40 years, yeah. Fallen Child was basically me and my best mate Greg. We started playing in his garage, and then we went to college. We met our drummer Dixon, and then we didn't have a bass player. So my brother's 3 years my junior started hanging around with us. So we were just like, "Do you want to play bass in our band, please?" To make life so much easier. So yeah, he consented to that. So that's basically how the band was born, and then Blame, that came about because we were starting pre-production on our second record, and then COVID, lockdown, bang, no more rehearsal, no more nothing. So I'm like, well, what am I going to do? I've got all this creative energy buzzing around in my system. How the hell am I going to get it out? So anyway, I'd had an idea in uni because when I went to uni, Cardiff Uni, we were it was the Afghanistan war. So sitting around with a bunch of my uni friends watching tanks live rolling through the desert into Afghanistan. And I said something offhand like, well, any of us, like 4 white British students could go. We could blow up anywhere in this city and we'd be the last people suspected of a crime, because that's just how society was at that point. So that kind of stuck in my brain. So Blame basically came from that seed, and it just grew and grew and grew and grew and grew from there. That's essentially it, really.
Brilliant. Well, we'll look more into it further on in the other questions.
Marvelous.
Right, Ed, as both a musician and an author, do you ever struggle with tackling both aspects of 2 projects? There are sometimes in very different creative worlds. What and where does the time get divided into? How do you split both creative projects of writing and music?
Well, in the band, I'm one of 4. So a lot of the musical creation happens when all 4 of us are all lined up and ready to go. Writing, on the other hand, is just me. So I can do that as little or as often as I want, depending how disciplined I am on a day or what have you. But I will play guitar in between writing to keep my chops up, as they say. So that
My
when the
brain
band
wouldn't be
do,
able to cope with that, 2 things.
yeah, no. See, well, I'm not like writing and playing at the same time, but like, you know what I mean. Yeah, so I'm ready to go. So as soon as the phone call comes in and says, right, everybody's ready, let's go, I can go.
You
And then
put
the
the other
other
one
thing is,
down.
yeah, and the other thing is, I always like to be ahead in my writing. So my latest book's already gone, but I've already got what I'm working on is already ongoing. So if I have to take 6 months to go play guitar, make a record, I can take 6 months. So it's just about trying to keep ahead, as it
Yeah,
were.
brilliant. So you managed the two fairly well together.
Thankfully, yes.
So, Ed, obviously, given the first two questions, we can establish that you're definitely liking the darker side of life and you're an avid lover of horror and things like that, like myself. But what are your biggest inspirations in life, do you think, for your writing and your music?
Well, we can zoom out from that and see the horror genre, which I adore. The thing is, at the moment, I'm a little too afraid to touch it because, as you know, if you love something passionately, you don't want to dip your toe and fall through the floor, as it were. So,
Yeah,
what I've done is I've reversed engineered the horror genre. So, a good example is I studied sociology at university and we learned about famous serial killers. Ed Gein immediately pops up to mind. You know, he's current.
yeah,
He's been current for ages. But it's when you learn that Ed Gein was the inspiration for Leatherface, and he was the inspiration for Norman Bates,
yeah,
and he was the inspiration for Buffalo Bill. So it's like, hang on a minute, there's something going on here. So obviously, when I came up with the idea of my book, rather than America, because that's not my experience. I mean, I've visited America. I've been fortunate. I've got
yeah,
friends in America. Look a little closer to home. So then Harold Shipman, very nasty bloke, but completely under the radar, hiding in plain sight. And that's
yeah,
where I drew the inspiration for my protagonist, Joseph, from. Because he's a university lecturer. He's hiding in plain sight. No one's going to suspect him. So, yeah. So it is horror, it's just reverse engineered horror, if that
yeah.
makes any sense.
Have you seen the Netflix adaptation of the Ed Gein story?
I have, yeah. Although I've also seen a hell of a lot of criticism about it.
Yeah. Now, I thought they'd done a fairly good job. Obviously, they've changed bits to make it good for TV.
Yeah,
But they did a fairly good job of it. I think the actor deserves a medal, the one who actually played the role of Ed Gein.
yeah.
Um,
Good old Charlie,
yeah, but
Sons of
they
Anarchy.
they did put a lot of stuff in there that he didn't actually do. Like they
Yeah.
say, he helped catch other people for the FBI and stuff, and none of that actually happened.
No, no, no. You couldn't take any Ed Gein, the real Ed Gein, anywhere out of Plainfield because he was just a lost little kid. Bless him.
Yeah,
Seriously,
I don't think he stood a
psychologically.
chance from the way he grew up. Basically, I
No,
don't think he stood
not
a chance in life.
not until they do. Yeah, then you know that theory that serial killers are bred is massive, and rightly so. He's a perfect example of it. I
Yeah,
mean, like Richard Ramirez as well. You know, as far as society was concerned back in his day, those poor Mexicans they didn't give him the light of day. So he was just an opportunist sneaking in houses, basically to live. You know what I mean? I'm
yeah,
not like saying, well done. Yeah, I'm not like praising what he did, but if you
yeah,
take a step back and look at it objectively, you can kind of see why these things kind of happen.
definitely. It sounds fascinating, Ed. I would really like to hear more about your wonderfully dark and creative book. What makes your book Blame horrifying or dark? What part of the story? Give me a rundown about the plot line that makes it dark.
Well, like we said, our protagonist is incredibly hidden. He's hidden in plain sight. He's a sociology lecturer by day, so he just goes and goes about his business. Problem is, when he goes home, in his garage, he's making explosives.
Ooh,
Um,
dangerous guy.
yeah, he goes on a bit of a bombing campaign. He blows up several places in the city, and then the other horrifying thing is, as his resentment grows, we get little tiny little pocket bomb concealed in the cinema. That's how we start. We end with a car bomb in a car park.
So it
So
progresses as they go.
It's quite a big kill count.
I mean, the idea of a bomber is a horrific idea entirely. I mean, it's almost like on terrorist level, but
Oh
from a
yeah,
single mind, which is even more dangerous, I suppose.
absolutely. And then the other thing is, like Hannibal Lecter, he's smart. He's two
Yeah,
steps ahead of everybody. So what he does is because he goes to the petrol station, he's filling up on his way back from work, and he's reading the newspaper headlines. Because obviously here, when we used to be in the summer, you'd have all the newspapers outside before you even went in. So he's like, police are getting closer. They're reverse engineering the bombs because there's been more than one. So they're
yeah,
trying to work out how it's made, etc. So what he does is he sneaks into a mosque and he steals a mosque leaflet and then he plants it in one of the subsequent bombs because he knows that if he's like that, people are automatically, they're not going to think, well, this is blatantly, 40-year-old white lecturer. You
yeah.
find a fragment of a mosque leaflet in a backpack. Here we go, then.
You automatically think terrorism. Yeah,
You automatically think terrorism, and then the poor guy that ends up getting framed for it, he has to go. He's British born and bred, Muslim. He has to go back to has to go back because one of his relatives dies. So obviously they're looking at his travel plans, and obviously where he's gone back to is just on the border with Afghanistan. So because of social prejudice, the police pieced together, well, all he's blatantly done, booked a flight here, hopped over the border, been radicalised, hopped back over the border, flown home, and bang. And yeah, so I mean, it's just
very dark indeed.
yeah, it's scary, really. But then I think
Definitely.
it kind of is kind of justified, especially like I think it was back then during the whole Iraq War and all that sort of stuff. And then obviously when we went through Brexit, it kind of like it boosted it up again because as we know, politicians were just
Yeah,
playing us off against each other. I was like, what? The only experience I've ever had with British Muslims is my landlord at uni was a British Muslim. And he was the nicest, most amicable, most loving, personal person you could ever meet in your life. Yet you are ramming this false identity down people's throats.
yeah.
You know
You
what I
can't
mean?
tar everybody with the same brush.
No,
That's
you absolutely can't. And like all the statistics we're seeing now about, it's all these immigrants. It's like, well, hang on a minute. You're
you can't
blowing.
blame them all for the few. Yeah,
No, you're taking this minuscule thing and just blowing it out of proportion. It's like just back off. Evil's evil. It doesn't come in colours or creeds or anything. It just simply is. So
absolutely, absolutely. Following on from that, then Ed, what has been your favourite band project so far, and why?
oh yeah, we shot a Netflix documentary
Oh,
for
right.
Grassroots Music. It was us, a couple of other bands, a couple of independent artists. So yeah, these guys. Literally, there's only two of them, like cameraman and his assistant, turn it with a steady cam and a spotlight.
Yeah,
Sign the waiver, so we can, once we film this, we can do what we like with you. So anyway, so we did that. Unfortunately, it was never picked up. But again, you can't take away from the experience. It's a brilliant experience that
and
I
what
will
was
ever
that?
be grateful
What was
for.
that called again? Can you see it now? Is it still on Netflix
No,
or
no, no,
no?
no. It never. No, it was the pilot. They never
Oh, it
greenlighted
never
the
aired.
series, which is a real shame. But there you go.
Oh, especially if
So
that was your favourite project as well.
yeah, yeah, it was just so unique. But it doesn't matter because I'm going to put the whole experience in a book. So
Yeah,
it's
get
all
it
good
out
as
there if
far
they
as I'm
won't. You
concerned.
can.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
this is what it's like.
brilliant. Okay, Ed. So we talked about your favourite projects. Now let's look at the other side of creativity. I know being a dark creator can be tough and hard at times. Is there any project that has ever failed you or that you've simply given up on for whatever reason at some point?
Yes, originally, after our first record was made, it came out, we were all happy with it. We thought, right, well, we've played a lot in the local area. Should we really try and take the band out of the local area to try and start a tour? Well, that's easier said than done because obviously, having played a few years in Western Bristol and that, you kind of you build up your following. So then you put the feelers out, and obviously 20 miles north, well, no, 20 miles north of us is Bristol. Like, further 20 miles north, no one's heard of us. No one's got a clue. So obviously, it's time, it's money. We didn't. It was all self-funded.
Yeah.
So we were throwing the idea around for a while and contacting here, there, and everywhere, but it just wouldn't have been economically. It wasn't worth it. So
You
we
ain't
didn't do it.
spending more than making, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, which was really disappointing. But hey, you live and learn. You know what I mean?
Are you going to try again with that in the future, or are you going to just call
Well,
that one quits?
I think we'll call it quits. I mean, now we're all three of us are married. We've got six kids between us.
Wow.
My eldest is, I think the youngest one we've got is like 4, 5. So we can't just be like, right, well, we're going on tour for
Yeah,
a month. See you later. Plus, we've all got jobs and mortgages and all that adult stuff that fortunately you kind of fall into before you're ready.
yeah.
So
Life gets in the way, doesn't it?
yeah, it certainly does. But like I say, hey ho.
Looking forward to the future of your books and your band, I hope we're going to see lots of new projects coming soon. Is there anything that you're working on currently or in the pipeline now that you would like to tell us about and share to my viewers?
Well, I'm kind of in no man's land at the minute. I mean, there's 12 songs from 3, 4 odd years ago, sat there waiting to go. And last month, my manuscript for my second book called Agency went to my publishers. So all
Brilliant.
being well, that is due out April-ish next year. So
Fantastic.
that's something to look out for. But that is completely different to Blame. That's because I've worked part time in care for longer than I care to admit, like 20 years now. I thought, right, well, let's highlight care, because it's not exactly, it gets an unfair rap, but I think a lot of that is from people outside looking in as opposed to from people inside projecting
Looking
out.
out, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, right, I want to write about care, but I just don't want to write just about care. I want to, spice it up a bit, keep
The
people interested.
inside sort of story of
Yeah,
care,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So the way I worked it out is right. I can write about my experience of care if I have a group of British career criminals try and rob a care home, essentially.
Interesting theory.
It's a complete unique thing. And the other thing is, I'm a massive Sopranos fan. I think I'm on my fourth go through of that show. It's amazing. So what I did, I took the blueprints of Paulie and Silvio and basically made them. They're the British equivalent of those guys. But
Right.
obviously, strip all the glamour away, and all that, and they're living in bedsit flats, topping up the gas meters, you know, whether one of them wears a tracksuit, not obviously as classy as Paulie's or not, I don't really know,
It's a very
but
different concept, though, and I like that idea because there's not much what I'd call unique stories coming out there. A lot of them are rip-offs of other things.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
like the
yeah.
fact that you're coming up with completely different concepts to write about.
Yeah, yeah, and Steve Gibbs, who I BBC Radio Bristol, I did the interview when Blame came out. He said the same thing. Anything else you're working on? I was like, I got this idea for a story about a bunch of British criminals robbing a care home. And he's like, I've never heard anything like that. I was like, that's good. I'm going to run with it. So
Yeah,
yeah, so
definitely.
next year that'll be out. So
So what about with the band? You said you've got several songs ready to go. Is that going to be an
yeah,
album or is that going to be a...
I really, really hope we can go track this second album because obviously, as we all know, unless you're Guns N' Roses, although technically Appetite for Destruction is not their first album, you don't hit it out the park first time, and the second
No.
one the material is so much more diverse because I think we're more confident now. So
It's true though, when people start out. I mean, I'm a big fan, obviously, of things like heavy metal music and stuff. One of my favorite bands being Pantera. But if you look
yeah,
at their first three albums, they're not heavy
mm,
metal. They're
no,
they're well, it's ballad rock. If anything, it's
yeah,
totally different. Um,
yeah. Dimebag with his perm. It's like
People don't
whoa,
even realise that they existed as that kind of band.
no.
So
Yeah, you're right. It's not until you get to Cowboys, it's like, right, that is the
yeah,
Pantera that everybody knows and loves.
that's it, isn't it? So I guess you have
Yeah,
to progress your albums and just keep plugging them and keep going until you find one that actually hits that people really want to listen to.
yeah, that's it.
I'd love to know, Ed, is there anything niggling at the back of your brain? Something maybe that's not yet been done, but that would like to try in life, whether that be through your books or in music or your band or just a personal goal? What have you always wanted to do, but you've never dared to try it?
I think the big one is rather than take these monsters that I love and reverse engineer them, I should really throw my hat in the ring and actually try and come up with my own.
Create one.
Create one, yeah, because I don't think that it wouldn't be a bigger satisfaction. I don't think to me than actually creating my own monster or monsters or
What sort of character would
whatever.
you create? Would you create like
I
a
don't,
human, or would you actually create a monster, or
no. I'm quite a big fan of vampires. I'm
okay.
quite a big fan of werewolves. Uh, so I don't know, vampires, werewolves.
Again, the concepts though have already kind of been done. If you're going to go
Yeah,
for a creation of a new creature or a new thing, then that's going to be a really hard thing to actually do to produce
yeah,
something completely
yeah,
different.
absolutely. Zombies. The problem with
They've
zombies
been
is
done to
they're
death.
everywhere.
Yeah, they've been
So
done to
like,
death.
yeah.
I
And
mean,
I
I was a
know
big
that.
fan of things like Walking Dead and stuff like that, and then they brought out so many sequels and things. It's like I'm out zombied now. I've watched enough.
Yeah, the problem with The Walking Dead, what they did is because I've got the whole original, I've got the comic book series. I love the comics; are incredible, so good. But what they did to the show, they stretched it way too far. I mean, I think if they'd have ended the original run of The Walking Dead, where the war was over, they caught Negan, he can rot alone in his cell, bang, that'd have been perfect. But no, they had to stretch it because obviously Andy your main character Andy Lincoln walks off. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And
Well,
there it just
I
kind of
think
went.
it's is it Daryl's character that in the comics was a small part, but the public loved him in the TV series that much that they kept him in and gave him like a full role.
Yeah, the comics he's barely in it. In fact, I can't even remember him being in it. I just I don't know. Well, thank God they had him because otherwise it would have ended when Andy Lincoln
Yeah,
got helicoptered off. Like it's that as well. It's one thing about American shows; they rarely stick landings on their endings.
yeah,
I found you can learn as a writer, you can learn a heck of a lot how not to end something
yeah.
by watching so many of these things. Because you just end up disappointed in it. It's like you've invested this much time and this much time with these characters, and then it just stops.
It's the worst thing ever to say, "Oh, I love this series" or "I love this book," but I hated the ending.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So for future things you want to try, it's definitely creating your own monster.
100%. Yeah. But I mean, like, I'm working on an idea now because I've obviously dealt with detectives in my first novel. They're not in as much the second one, agency, but they are there. In
Yeah,
the third one, I've got an idea that this lady, it's a trilogy because I thought I'm never going to be able to write a trilogy. And then all of a sudden, 2 a.m., my brain's like, there's a trilogy for you. So I
I did
scribbled it
exactly
down.
the same with
So
mine.
anyway, yeah. So the first one's kind of like a generic, kind of like more of a who done it type thing. So
Yeah,
it's sort of size, and then through personal circumstances, she moves. She moves. She gets transferred to another place, and I was like, right there, she can have a brush with the supernatural.
Okay.
Again, completely random idea. So I'm hoping that if I can pull off this brush with a supernatural, that'll then give me the confidence to go from there. Right, come on then. Throw your hat in the ring. You can do this now. Come up with a whatever it is, supernatural or a riff on vampires and werewolves or whatever. I don't know. But that's what I'm hoping.
Brilliant. Go for it. Artists like yourself and I are either loved or hated due to our choice of genre. Horror provokes both good and bad reactions within the general public. So, what is your definition of horror, and how do you perceive and create it within your work?
Well, I'd have to say horror is the unknown, and it's the not knowing that promotes fear.
Fear.
That's the bottom line. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Um, yeah, like I'm just trying to think. Like the Cthulhu mythos is a perfect example. There's this big sort of energy thing, but you're not really sure what it
What it
is, and
is.
all you know is it's big and it's menacing and it's there and it's affecting you, and you know what I mean. And that's the kind of the same thing with horror. Whereas obviously with my work, it's kind of like it is there, but again, it's almost hidden. You
A
know,
lot of
like
people think of horror as it's got to be blood, guts, and gore, or
yeah,
poltergeist
no,
throwing things around. People perceive horror in many, many different ways. I mean,
yeah,
to me, if you see a car crash, that's horrific.
oh
That is
yeah,
horror. And yeah, people associate it with just the paranormal or just so I think fear as the unknown, as you said, is a good concept.
yeah. And obviously, being such a big fan of Silence of the Lambs, Anthony Hopkins. The reason you can sell Hannibal so well is because you know it's there. It's not in your face, but
Yeah,
my God, you can feel it, and it's playing. People. Our fears are played on every single day of our lives
yeah,
online. You know, whether it's like I heard the other day, there's obviously been a massive rise in homelessness, but the reason the government won't do anything about it is because it's like, well, you either play the game our way or you end up like those poor souls,
yeah,
which is tragic. But again, there's a classic example of using fear against your population.
yeah, definitely.
And then, yeah, with horror, like I say, me reverse engineering it all, it's there, but it's not in your
In your
face. And I
face.
suppose maybe when I do come up with my spectre, spook, monster, maybe I should deliberately do the complete opposite and put it in your face. It's like, well, there it is,
Maybe,
right?
yeah.
Deal with it, sort of thing. So,
I think that's the way a lot of new horror creators are going. They're trying to make everything so in your face,
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
unwatchable. And
Mm,
yes, that's horrific if you go in like this and you're screaming at the screen or whatever. But I I prefer psychological horror. Again, the stuff you don't know, that you don't see, the background fear and horror is what I like.
uh-huh.
So I think that's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
good
yeah.
concept.
I always have as well. It reminds me of that early scene in Psycho, when Marion is peeing it down and Norman's like, well, come and have dinner in the parlour. So he runs upstairs, grabs the food, and they sit down and they have that conversation. And that scene is so loaded with symbolism. And obviously, because Hitchcock but when the film came out, he didn't, he promoted it. So the audience kind of had an idea of what was going on. But that scene is so brilliant because he comes across as a cute little mama's boy, and
Yeah.
she's playing off how he's presenting himself. Yet, less than 20 minutes in the film, he's stabbing her to death
I think, was it
in the
Hitchcock
shower
that
with a knife.
actually sat in the audience on the opening viewing just to see the
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
audience
yeah.
reaction? And yeah,
Yeah, and there's documentaries about it online, and they put signs up outside cinemas that said
yeah,
no one is allowed into this film after it started because he didn't want it spoiling. You needed that
yeah,
experience. You needed to have the characters presented to them as like Norman Bates again, perfect as he was when you first meet him.
yeah.
So you get his full evolution throughout the whole film. I mean, genius,
Yeah.
absolute genius. But yeah, modern horror. I mean, like, I love Terrifier. I have a real soft spot for Art
Yeah.
the Clown. But again, that is, again, like we were saying, that's completely in your face. You know, I'm gonna sort. You know, there's no like, not like that scene in Scarface where he's got the chainsaw in the bathtub
Yeah.
and the camera pans away and your mind fills in the horror that's going on. It's like,
Again,
no,
it was
I'm
originally
literally
done with
like,
things like Clockwork Orange. The
yeah,
bit where he's singing in the rain and he's kicking the guy to death on the floor.
yeah,
You don't actually see it. You see his face singing and dancing while he's doing it
yeah,
and stuff. And yeah, to me, that concept of horror is the better one to go with.
yeah. Because I think it's almost like, not that not like guys like Damien Leone are deliberately doing it, but they're kind of like undermining their audience's intelligence. The power is what your mind can think of. You
Yeah,
can conjure up something in your mind way more powerful than anything that they present to you fully on the screen, I think.
definitely. I'm now going to ask you something that always causes a stir and holds firmly divided opinions within the artistic community. So I
Hmm.
must ask, what is your view on the widely controversial AI technology that is currently being used globally within the creative world at the moment?
Ooh, well, I'm not a fan. I'm going to admit that, and it's actually been really nice to see on social media some of the big companies saying
Going
we are
against it.
not touching anything that's been anywhere near AI. So I'm guessing somehow they figured out a way where they could recognize it.
I mean,
I
with
mean,
authors, people are now churning out books that are written on AI. To me, that doesn't make them an author. It makes AI the author.
yeah, absolutely, 100%. Yeah,
I mean, I
written.
don't know this, but you might know better than me. Does AI creep into the music world at all? Are people using it for that? Or
Ah, you
I know
you
art
can
in general is
guarantee it
being
will be.
used, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, like when we if we go a few questions ago when we're talking about our Netflix pilot,
yeah,
I talked to the guy. Obviously, he was contracted for Netflix. He's already done a few documentaries. So I said, "Well, what about licensing like our music to Netflix?" And he was like, "I wouldn't even bother. It's a complete dead end. All they've got is they've got these generic things that they use. So presumably those generic things now they'll just use AI for. So any type of music licensing now is probably just a complete dead end,
yeah,
which is not good. Because I mean, like, streaming services. Well, I mean, I think we had one check for 12 quid, and that was it. But that was, I think that was the accumulation of every streaming service that we were on. So I mean,
yeah,
it's pittance.
yeah. I
But
mean, I
then the
know
thing,
with YouTube, YouTube's now got an AI program that searches for AI and copyright stuff and that. So people's channels are being like completely deleted. And when they contact YouTube to try and find out why, there's nobody to
uh
talk to anymore. It's a computer. And if the computer said no, the computer deletes you. That's literally how it goes. And I've spoken to a few people recently that have said, yeah,
yeah.
my channel's just been deleted completely and I don't know why. And they
Well,
said, well, it's the AI has flagged it for some reason.
there you go. Matt Lucas and David Williams were ahead of their time. Computer says no.
Yep,
Yeah.
definitely.
But then I think the thing with AI as well is like philosophers for centuries, because again, I did a part of this at uni, they've been trying to like, what's a human soul? How do you define what a human soul is? Well, science can't do it, philosophy
Yep,
can't do it, religion can't do it. But so until you give AI a soul, it
an
can never
emotion. Yeah,
replicate the human experience. So it's kind of null and void. So as long as the gatekeepers, as it were, of creative industries say no,
no
thank
for it.
you,
Yeah.
hopefully we'll be safe. Hopefully.
I know in the art world, as far as like paintings and drawing, digital art, that sort of thing, AI is now just hugely used. People just click a button and create something and put their name on it. And I think it's weird because I'm starting to see a lot of AI images and they've got 6 fingers or like a floating arm or the head's not connected or it's like, how does this computer, who taught the computer that a hand has 6 fingers? Do you know what I mean? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, yeah. You'd have been better off doing the Simpsons way and just giving them four rather
Yeah,
than six.
cut one off instead. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in all, you're against AI. I think most of the people I've interviewed for this show are all against new AI in art.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because I mean, art. Like I've got an amazing book called The First Artists. It's all about the original cave paintings that that are like thousands and
Wow.
thousands of years old. And art is about humans trying to connect and make sense of our environment.
Yeah,
Well, you can't a computer zeros and ones. It doesn't need to make sense of its environment. Its environment is contained within
yeah.
a box. So like it's just
That's
you know
it.
what I
It
mean?
has no soul. It has no emotion. And
It has no need to. It just responds to zeros and ones. Yeah, all right. We can program it to recognize stuff, but like, is it going to recognize when someone comes at it with a hammer and beats it to bits?
I'd like to do that to my laptop sometimes.
I think everybody would with some piece of technology at some
Yeah,
point during
technology
the
hates me.
day. You're not the only one. Don't worry. Although, give it its dues. I've written both of my novels on my iPhone.
Wow. That must be quite
Yeah, yeah,
hard
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
do.
Yeah. Well, no, it's easy. It's just notes. You just go in your notes because you see all these things on the online, and it's all like stop doom scrolling, stop doing this. This technology is warping your mind. Well, it's like no, you can choose to use it for that stuff,
Yeah,
or you can choose to use it for a decent purpose. So I was like, I'm gonna take it back. So like I say, I've written my first 2 novels literally started out on notes. Just wrote the whole thing, and all I did, copied, pasted it into Word, formatted it properly, standard properly, and just sent it off that way. So, in the
brilliant.
words of Rage Against the Machine, take the
The
power back,
power back.
people.
Yes, definitely. The horror style provokes shock, awe, and fear. And you've told me about dark characters and themes within your book. But as
hmm
an artist within this genre, what is your biggest fear? What are you, Ed Burley, truly afraid of?
My biggest fear is what individuals are capable of, people are capable of.
People.
I mean, I know Carl Jung talks a lot about your shadow side and the importance that you've got to integrate your shadow side with your light side, because if you don't, it will come and bite you on the ass, basically. And I agree with that. I mean, there's countless tyrants throughout history. I mean, we could be here all day
Yeah.
listing them, and human beings, the things we do to each other, and that is it goes beyond my I can't. Some of the stuff that you've learned from history, like the Holocaust, that is the one place I don't think I can ever visit is Auschwitz, because I'm
No.
quite a hypersensitive person.
Yeah.
I know the moment I get in there and I realize exactly I will not handle it, because my brain can't conceive that evil. It just can't. I don't know.
Does that leave you with like trust issues with people and stuff? The fact that,
Ah, yeah, I had a really like going back, like why I was such a big Manson fan, identified with the alien and the mechanical animals thing. I was bullied terribly at school, terribly.
me
But then it's
too.
because I was different, and it's like trying to shove a square peg into a round hole. Some
Yeah.
people just aren't meant to be one of the flock, as it were. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's only now I've realised that my way of seeing the world, my different view of seeing the world's a strength, but it has taken a heck of a lot of work, if I'm being completely upfront, to reverse engineer everything that I grew up believing.
Yeah.
You know,
I
and
think
then
a lot of people in the world do lie and cheat and do horrible things to each other. And I think you're 100% right in this day and age. The fear of what other people can do is extreme.
yeah, 100%. I mean, like going back to the serial killers. I mean, you can take them all, like Gein, Ted Bundy. I mean, my God, you know. But you couldn't meet a more charismatic bloke if you tried. You know,
Yeah,
Buzz Bundy's charisma was just off the scale. But
that
then
is,
you
yeah,
learn about the stuff he did, and it's just like, again, how can you equate someone who presents that with that? And I think a lot of, yeah. And then, like, my mind as well. I think everyone's mind can go to a dark place, but you got to learn to kind of like, you got to learn to tame it, because if you don't, you will get overcome by it. It's like Putin. I mean, God only knows what goes on in his brain. Like,
yeah,
how he thought that, well, well, we need more territory. I know what we'll do. We'll just wreck the lives of thousands of people because we need more resources. I was
yeah.
like, well, hang on a minute. If you actually thought about it on a humanitarian level, but I think the scariest thing is, some people, it doesn't even cross their minds. They're just completely oblivious to it, and that, again, it scares me. It really does.
No, that's totally understandable. Now then, question number 13. That's a highly unlucky number for some and yet held sacred to others. So, what I'd like to know is, being a fellow artist and being of the darker side, do you, Ed, have or hold any truth in things like folklore, superstition, things like ghosts, schools, vampires, demons? What's your feeling on that kind of thing?
I think like a lot of this stuff, it all comes from somewhere. So I think demons are feelings, to be honest. Now,
Yeah,
whether they're internal or external, it's like, early man, we have to label everything to try and make sense of it. That's the sky, that's the grass, that's the water, etc. What's this feeling? Oh, I don't know. Well, it doesn't feel good. It feels really bad. Well, it's a demon, you know. And then, what was that over there? What do you mean? That dark, shadowy thing? Well, that was a demon. So I think the demons are like part of this labely thing. Uh, Werewolves, I love the idea of this old folklore about turn skins. So,
yeah,
dead wolf, we'll nick that. Right, Bill, whack it on. Go on to, so like you've got two neighbouring properties. So Bill and his dad are here, and there's a farm over there. Bill, put that on. Go walk around on all fours at the back of their farm. Scare the crap out of them. You know what I mean? So, these are like, a really, it's a good book. It would be a good idea for a book. These two people, pretending to be werewolves, fighting for like land and territory and stuff like that. It's a huge. You fill it with humour as well. That'd be great. Vampires. Have you met any psychic vampires? You probably know a few.
I've heard the idea of the psychic vampire, and I do believe there are people out there that do drain the life out of you in that sense. Whether I'd call them vampires, I don't know. Because I think
No.
more of when I think vampire, I think the whole blood thing. And obviously, in all the times, obviously, the whole thing of TB brought the concept of blood disorders and things.
Mm-hmm.
That coinciding with obviously things like Bram Stoker's Dracula,
Yeah.
and so on like that. But I don't know whether I'd call people like psychic vampires or
Psychic
whether
vampire.
I know a
No.
lot of
See,
people like that though.
yeah. I mean, I've known a few psychic vampires in my time, using the term loosely. I don't know. I don't know whether, because obviously psychology, you can't see it. Whether blood became a substitute for psychic draining, I do not know. But I mean, like all these things, they've evolved so much over time.
But the
I
idea
mean,
had to come from somewhere. Everything
that's
has a start.
exactly it. Yeah,
Even if
yeah,
it's somebody's imagination, it
yeah.
still came from somewhere at the beginning.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. That's that thing, isn't it? Everything we see is a product of consciousness.
Leaving
And
ghosts, that sort of thing.
yeah, I've no,
Yeah.
I'd love to see one. I would love to. I mean, I've had multiple cold spots. And you know that feeling when someone's watching you and there's nobody around? I've had that multiple times. It's like, what is it? What's going on? And then when I when I first moved in with my now wife, and an Xbox, and when I was at home on my own, it would play up massively. It wouldn't load. It would turn off. It would turn on. So my now wife comes home. I was like, my Xbox is giving me a better house. She's like, oh, it's my grandmother. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, she do that all the time. She turned like when after she died, they were living in her old house. You know, she turned the volume up and down on the TV, and she played with lights and everything. It's like you've just met my grandmother. I was like, okay then.
Okay.
Like how much I bought it, I don't know, but I
I
think there's a
had a,
lot of.
I had a PlayStation that people said was possessed
Yeah.
because when you turned it on to the original screen, before you'd clicked or chosen anything,
Uh huh.
it kept getting, if you imagine medieval monks chanting, and this music and this chanting came out somehow of the PlayStation. And I
Okay.
recorded it and I put my phone really close up to the PlayStation. I'm like, can everybody else hear this? It's not just me, is it? Do you know what I mean? It was like, why? And then we turn it off and turn it back on again, and the chanting had
Yeah.
gone. And it was like,
That's bizarre.
I have no explanation for that one.
No,
Do you know
no,
what I
no.
mean?
Yeah, no, and I think Ghost as well. I think there's a lot of comfort to be had because obviously, you know, life, death, all that
Past
sort of
loved
stuff.
ones and stuff, yeah. And
Yeah, yeah, you know that is there's a great unknown because obviously they say you know they've documented near death experiences, but if you look into it, it's incredibly vague because no one really knows, and obviously once you pass, you can't. Nobody knows, and I think we you know ghost stories been alive for well, God, it's
they are currently, from a
thousands of years.
scientific point of view, they are currently trying to invent a machine that reads the thought or the mind process, the waves, if you like, of the mind
Mm-hmm.
as somebody dies. They're trying to actually, I don't know how to describe it. They're actually trying to find out what happens in that transition. And that's what people
Mm-hmm.
are scientifically trying to work out at the minute. Don't know whether they'll ever achieve it, but
No, that would be amazing. Well, I'm my both my recent grandparents that I've lost, they passed away while they were sleeping. Thank God. So they were probably. I like to think they were dreaming, but it would be fascinating to know what was going on just
yeah,
before that thing. Yeah.
definitely,
So.
definitely.
But no, folklore's fascinating. I mean,
Yeah,
you can go back thousands of years. It's crazy and how it's evolved. And the beauty of YouTube is you can just type it in.
yeah,
There's also you can look at. There's a guy. It's called Thought Potato, the channel, and he's theorizing how scientifically a person would become a werewolf or a person would mutate into a vampire. If you're interested in any of it, that is obviously it's all science. Technically, it's science fiction, but to see someone do it with werewolves and vampires is amazing. So if anyone gets a chance, look up Thought Potato on YouTube. It's brilliant.
I shall definitely do that. Right, as we are now nearing the end of this meeting of Monstrous Minds, I would like to ask just two more questions of Ed here while he is with me tonight. I wonder if there are any links that you can provide us with or images that you would like to share with us in the comments section of this interview. Ed, please tell me, what would you like my viewers to check out of yours after this video is ended, of course?
My first book, Blaine, would be good. You can Google it. If you Google Edward, which is my full proper name, Burley,
Yeah,
Burley, Blaine, one of the top links should be my publishers, For Sure Publishing. So click on that. Up will come the book. So you can get that there.
brilliant.
The other thing is social media because I'm having a growing followers on social media. It's like, well, what do you do? Do you develop your art or do you develop your followers? So it's a real kind of like thing with time. So if
Okay,
people would like to follow me, a follow would be amazing because obviously, and then we got exciting stuff coming up. There's obviously now my second book's in pre-production, so everyone can watch the journey of that.
yeah,
So I go on everything on X, on TikTok, and on Instagram. I'm all under the same thing, which is at his master rights, which is a play on
okay.
HMV. And yeah, but it's not only me, my dog Pippin, who I affectionately call on there as my ghostwriter, There's a lot of
Oh,
cute puppy stuff on there as well, just as an extra incentive for everybody. So yeah, those would be two of the main things I'd say.
we'll make sure that all your links and things for people to check out will be in the comments section of this video. So if you want to check them out, we will let people have a look.
Brilliant.
Finally, to end the night, I would like to ask you one final question. For all the new up-and-coming aspiring dark authors, creators and musicians out there trying to make it into the world of social media or getting published, spotted or cast into that leading role, whatever their dream may be, what advice or inspiration would you give those people out there trying to achieve these goals?
Ooh, well, I personally think, what have you got to lose? I think that's what it basically boils down to. I think if you're driven, if there's something there, you can feel it. End of the day, and you have two choices. You can either try and bury it, which often leads to complete disaster, or you're far better off getting it out and having a go. Because, like I say, yeah. Because what have you got to lose at the end of the day? Absolutely nothing. I mean, nothing's going to change. You know, there's no void going to open up in the earth. You're going, to sucked into hell. Nothing like that. So
Even
yeah,
if the work, if people portray it as negative, I guess, or they don't like it, you can then work on that and you know then to work with for the next time or the next project.
that's absolutely it. It's the mindset that failure. There's always something to be gained in failure
Yeah.
if you're open to it. And it's incredibly hard today because all we see on social media is the summit. You know, the only people they ask any opinions on is billionaires and things like that. Where it's like, well, hang on a minute. There was a bottom of a mountain before they reached the top. I think if more people were open to where they started and how they got there, that would inspire more people to actually give this sort of stuff a go. You know?
Definitely. Right. With those words spoken, our meeting of Monstrous Minds now draws to a close. I would like to thank all of my fans for watching and supporting this. And a huge thank you goes out to Ed Burley for being my third interviewee of the series. Any corresponding pictures, links, messages, etc. will all be posted on the comments section of this video for everyone to see, like, share and subscribe to. And also, if you are a creator yourself of any kind within the dark horror genre or industry and would like to be interviewed for this channel, please get in touch. It's free promotion for you and it's awesome fun for everyone involved, viewers and artists alike. You must be 16 years of age or older and hold 100% copyright to the work and the material you use within your video. And there you have it, folks. I hope you enjoyed viewing tonight's episode. And if you've not done so already, please like and subscribe to my channel for all future videos, interviews and projects. If you're still awake at this point and you would like to hear more from Ed here and myself, then please simply head over to the playlist tab and check out the Green Room, where you can watch a less intense and more casual chat discussing in more detail or non-previously discussed things within the interview. Now, don't forget to check back in a fortnight's time on Friday the 5th of December 2025 at 12 a.m. midnight. That's UK GMT Greenwich Mean Time. So please don't forget your worldly time difference before you plan to watch the show. Now, here you should see episode 4 of the series launched, and I will be interviewing a professional riff monster, lyricist and creator of the band Gospels of Odin, Jay Bull. I hope to see you all there to find out and listen to the news about their new Christmas special and song release. Thank you, Ed, and thank you and good night.
Thank you.